This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and the next time Kurt Angle decides to book a tournament for a championship title match, he won't think it's a good idea to put Robbie E in it. I'm working on Friday and Saturday this weekend, and I won't have as much time as I usually do to make the Impact video, so I guess I should thank TNA for delivering a show this week that I can cover in a very simple, i.e. short, review. There were very few talking points with this one. Quite frankly, I don't have much to say about any of it. Like I said before, wrestling-heavy shows are hard to review because without some kind of larger story component, there are only so many ways you can say, this match was great, or this match sucked. And in this case, where the whole show was like that, I'm kind of at a loss for what to say here. The entire show is built around this NYC Gold Rush tournament that just materialized out of nowhere. Basically, it's a bunch of matches with the winners facing off in the main event, and the winner of that match gets a title shot against anyone he wants. And that was pretty much the entire show right there. There was literally nothing else going on. So if you like straight up wrestling with no talking segments, no storyline advancement or anything like that, this was the show for you. If you don't, you may have been kind of bored here. The booking of the tournament was simple, logical, nothing really stupid happened, and there were no unnecessary gimmicks for a change. Thank you. Yes! But aside from that, what is there to say about this? It was a bunch of cold matches pairing up random opponents. The wrestling in the qualifiers was for the most part good, though the main event had little energy and kind of fell flat. Most of the people in the tournament made sense, but then you've got guys like Robbie E and Nux, who made it seem like Kurt Angle was just pulling names out of a hat or something. And then there's MVP. Why would Angle put MVP in this thing? He hates MVP. I don't know.
This is unbelievable. This doesn't make any sense.
Even if I'm talking about the individual matches, there's not a whole lot to say. Low-key MVP was excellent and easily the match of the night, but you send the guys out there cold for 20 minutes with no story and no build-up, and essentially you have a 20-minute match just for the sake of having a 20-minute match. And for me, it's difficult to stay invested if that's the case. The action was great, but it didn't need to be this long. I would have preferred they'd cut a few minutes off of this and give them to Magnus and Anderson. Tajiri and Robbie E was such a foregone conclusion, it's like, well, why even bother doing it? Tajiri wins because Robbie is a jobber ass clown who didn't belong in this tournament in the first place. It's usually entertaining watching Robbie get beat like the loser he is, but everyone knows he's a loser by now, so this whole thing felt kind of pointless.
You are one pathetic loser.
Aries and Nux was pretty good. I was very impressed that Aries was able to get Nux up for the Brainbuster, and that's all I have to say about that one, really. Magnus and Anderson was good while it lasted, although this one could have used more time. It's really depressing that Magnus seems so inconsequential right now. Considering all the time TNA put into him last year and earlier this year, what was it all for? This is the man responsible for Sting being banished from the company not that long ago. Not that that means anything with the way they presented it. TNA seemed to want him to be one of their new top guys, and now he's getting beat by Anderson in a couple minutes? What the hell happened?
Urge to kill rising.
Abyss and Samuel Shaw was just okay. I didn't really care for it. I don't think their styles complement each other very much, and I probably wouldn't have matched these two up if I had booked this. So those were the qualifiers. Then they had a 5-way main event, a 5 corners match if you will. Wasn't terrible, but I thought it kind of fizzled out. The crowd didn't care very much at this point, and I was kind of struggling to care myself. I was happy that Austin Aries won, but what does this lead to now? I assume he'll want his title shot against Lashley, but will it be a match with some real storyline significance, or will it just be another one-off match that Lashley wins and that's it? Going by recent history, I'm really hoping for the former, but I suspect it'll be the latter. And another thing, was a tournament really necessary to get us to this place? You go through this whole dog and pony show for 2 straight hours when you could have gotten the same results much more easily and much more quickly. Team MVP is cutting a promo. Aries comes out and gets in their faces. He wants another shot at Lashley. Angle books Aries in a #1 contenders match, and he wins. There. You just accomplished the same thing in a fraction of the time. And then you freed up the rest of the show to do other stuff, like, I don't know, announce some Bound for Glory matches? Maybe give the Knockouts a promo segment so we could learn something or learn anything about Havoc's character and what her motivations are so she's not a blank slate when she has her title match with Gale? You know, stuff like that. The wrestling is appreciated, but that other stuff is important too. Just saying.
And that's the fishing line, 'cause Shark Boy said so.
And that's basically it. That was the whole show. And I have to say, I found myself drifting. If we're going to talk about the main differences between the 3 big companies, WWE puts a lot more importance on talking and entertainment, or what they think is entertainment, than they do with wrestling. And then you've got ROH, which is almost nothing but wrestling. One of the things that drew me to TNA was that they seemed, at least most of the time, to try to be a mix of those 2 approaches. And that's not what this was. It was a good night of wrestling, but if I want a straight-up wrestling show, I'll watch ROH. Honestly, this all seemed like TNA were just padding something that could have been done just as effectively in much less time. This Impact felt like filler, and with Bound for Glory so close now, that's not good. At all. I guess that's it. See you next week.